Apparently in today's day and age, since peace is only reserved for the ignorant or the dead, I have decided to rest in stress. In case anyone else is struggling to have peaceful kind of rest, here is things you can do as a stressful kind of rest. Because sometimes turning off the motor up here just is not realistic. Like if I waited to take care of myself until everything was calmer, I'd be waiting for a long time. I'd probably be on my deathbed being like, I wish I'd taken that bath that I'd planned years ago. Not to get all philosophical like a minute into this. Well, who am I kidding? I'm always gonna get philosophical like 30 seconds into everything. So propagating and bringing back to life some of the plants. I've just realized and seen firsthand, especially with my fiddle leaf fig, plants can seem so dead on the outside and wilted and just done at the end of the journey. They still have life and a lot of strength in them, just needed time and a lot of care. Sounds familiar. So I just decided if self-care isn't happening via restful means the way that Pinterest would have us believe, I'm just gonna keep resting as much as I can and however little I can in stress. And I'm gonna stay anxious, but I'm gonna try to think about it as restful anxiety instead of activating anxiety. Gotta do something. Another thing to try. And honestly, so far, it's kind of been working. Like I've seen maybe 2% like milk. I've seen 2% worth of growth and change in my baseline mood, I suppose. Oh no, I just dropped soil in the dresser. Why am I doing this on top of the dresser, you ask? I don't know, it's a really good, comfy height, but a lot has changed in the past year, and it's been a lot, to say the least. I lost my job, looked for a lot of jobs, did not work out, decided to focus on the business. I make candles. And then, as fate would have it, the economy tanked, went crazy, and everything has just been very unpredictable and scary, and that's not even getting into the geo-socio-political spirals of it all. So basically for any young, semi-youngish person, there's just been a lot of stress and dread every single day. And I found myself really struggling with switching off from autopilot. And autopilot has usually involved screens. Basically numbing myself. We know this. It's easier to shut out everything and focus on one tiny group of pixels, but it's exhausting. And then it's exhausting to complain about how exhausting it is. So here we are. I'm trying to do as many non-screen things as possible. Sometimes it's not possible, doesn't work. I will start a thing and 10 minutes later I'm like, whoa, how did I get on my laptop? Or how did I end up scrolling on my phone again? I really do appreciate that we're all sort of returning, or trying to at least, return to the disconnecting and the unplugging movement, so to speak. It's more difficult than it's ever been, no doubt, but we're trying. So the first one is something I've found myself coming back to pretty consistently, and that's scheduling existential crises. Yeah, I know, it sounds unhinged, but hear me out. If you're already spending half your day freaking out and not being able to do anything, then judging yourself for the cycle, blah, 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 doesn't it just make sense to schedule that in and plan for it so that you can guiltlessly spiral? It doesn't always work, like any coping mechanism. It's not an exact science, obviously. Can you imagine? But I found it makes it much easier for me to bounce back from the worst moments of paralysis, because now I'm just kind of like, okay, so my morning existential crisis usually lasts till like maybe 10 or 11 a.m. at most. So if I don't schedule anything particularly pressing then, I'll just be able to do it later and then leave that time, because otherwise I would have just kept pushing the thing and piled on unnecessary pressures anyway. And of course, not everyone has the privilege to plan their days and have the freedom to schedule things like that, but if you can, in any way, the smallest of changes like that gives you breathing room, I've found, so would recommend just trying it out, even if it's just for the weekend. Number 2, I have started using just dropped everything. I've been actually using a randomizer to schedule breaks during my day. I literally got one of those like pick a number, flip a coin kind of probability apps, and every night before going to bed, I ask it to choose from a set of times, so 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. It randomly picks a time, and at that hour, I have to leave the house. That's my only rule. No devices, and I have to walk. Sometimes if I can't leave the house, I won't lie, there's a lot of those moments, I have to just stop doing whatever I'm doing, and walk around my living room. That's it. Still no devices. So the only two rules, I guess 1.5, is walk without devices. I'm gonna get into listening to music in that scenario later in my last point, actually. But basically, I was realizing that I have never in my life been able to follow a schedule for work or rest. I don't know what made me think that structuring breaks in was the only way that it was going to work, because I was scheduling breaks, setting alarms. It was not working. I literally would just skip over it because I was like, I can't do the same thing every day. I don't know if it's a me thing, a neurodivergence thing. I think a lot of people have this struggle as well because stress. Randomizing it has actually just kind of made it a little bit less boring, and I think breaking patterns is really, really important, especially if your brain is convincing you that the rut and the regularity is not working and it's scary. Let's break it. On to the next 10-minute rule. When I was younger and I hated working out, of any exercise of any kind that wasn't like playing tennis, which was cool, but I only did that once or twice a week. The rest of the time, I really did not like any physicality, which changed later, but at that time, it was really hard because my family loves exercise and like health things, and it's lovely for them. But my mom used to tell me something which at the time, obviously, I didn't care, but in retrospect, it still helps me every day now that I can actually do that, is the 10-minute rule. So start doing something, maybe 5, if that works better. But 5 or 10 minutes is much easier for the brain to digest as a chunk of time. So start doing something just for 10 minutes. And I actually sometimes also have like a list of like a picture on my phone that I've screenshotted or whatever of ideas of self-care. And I have to pick something and start doing it, do it only for 10 minutes. I can stop after that. But usually I find that giving myself that leeway to quit something actually allows me to keep going in the said restful self-care space much longer. And it doesn't feel like such a huge burden in an already burdened time. Kind of relevant, my annual quote this year is also, sometimes small actions count more than the big thoughts. I think I wrote that specifically because I know I've been really struggling with the overwhelm paralysis. So, baby steps being really, really like seemingly not even moving kind of baby steps. That's okay. The helpful thing is taking back the control with any action, whatever it might be, even if it's just drinking water, because it breaks the chain reaction up here. 4th one's big and kind of scary. Social support. Relying on people reaching out when you start to feel yourself slipping into that space. This is really hard because it involves so much vulnerability, and a lot of people can't handle it when you tell them like, hey, I'm really struggling, I need you to do this. Sometimes we don't even know what we need people to do, so that's always hard. But without doing it, we're never going to figure out what's going to help. So starting small, maybe just texting a friend or calling someone. My personal favorite is body doubling. Very popular in the ADHD community and just generally helps most neurodivergent people who struggle with motivation especially. It's basically having someone else, like a physical presence with you in your space or virtually while you're working or doing something or just going through these things, because having another person there, just silently even, actually helps get things done. Maybe it's mirror neurons, maybe it's just soothing the nervous system. I don't know, I'm gonna have to look more into that scientifically speaking, but I'm telling you, it works. Whatever you would do otherwise that you aren't able to do, you're able to do it because there's another person. And it's fun, straight up. Like, you just get to hang out, chat occasionally if you so choose. It's a lighter and much more palatable way of sharing the workload, essentially. Fun fact, there's actually online body doubling groups. So if there's no one else, I get it. I have like 3 friends that I would trust, maybe less than. But if you're on the extreme introvert/antisocial scale, there's still options. Okay, I've yapped a lot. Spent way too long repotting 5-6 stems. We need to finish this because then we can get to the final point, which is the most exciting one. Dude, this one is so shriveled. I don't even know if I could plant it, but it's not mushy, which I guess is the test for rotted insides, but who knows? We're just gonna throw it in there and see what happens. Plant around and find out. Potting's done, and the final way that I've been relying on lately to rest in stress has been making it easier to choose healthier distractions. Taking away distractions is not working. Clearly, that's why we're struggling with all of this, right? So I figured maybe just taking away some of the friction between me and the choice that's optimal, instead of just relying on, damn, I just pulled apart my plant. This, I think, is talked about in Atomic Habits. I'm not going to read that finance bro stuff, but basically just reducing the amount of overload of choice that you would put yourself through to get to the healthier distraction. So what do I mean by that? I've been struggling with putting my phone down. At night before going to bed, or like in the evenings especially, and in the mornings when I wake up, not immediately hopping on to Instagram and scrolling or whatever. The downtime limitations that Apple has are good, helpful, but they stopped being helpful for me after I got used to them. I would just cancel out of the limits that I'd set for myself when the screen went blank, and I would just kind of go back to what I was doing and not enjoying, leading to essentially the same outcome. So I actually turned on an automation called grayscale, so my screen goes into black and white mode at 8 p.m. and doesn't turn back to color until 10 a.m. the next day. I could keep scrolling, but it's just taken all the flavor out of it. Because now I still have control. No one's like forcing me or punishing me for anything. I get to choose, but I've just made one of the choices way less desirable. And the thing I literally decided to make this whole video for, I got an MP3 player. Yep. Analog, old school, very classic, like early 2000s, no touchscreen. I am overjoyed. Here we are. I'm in love. Clicky buttons. And when I tell you it was so hard to find something that had tactile buttons and no touchscreen, because if I wanted touchscreen, I would just be on my phone. What is the difference? Please let me know why. Well, actually, the audiophile community is intense, and I am one of them. So point is, I needed something that was going to force me to switch off without actually taking away the distraction that music provides, because it keeps me sane most days. Yeah, I won't have access to new music and suggested Spotify playlists, but you know what that means? I'm going to actually have to physically put music on this, and that inherently takes away the system of autopiloting. That way I can't rely on a software to make my decisions for me and just keep me locked in there. I'm not tech averse by any means. I'm tech hesitant sometimes, a lot of times. I think there's huge advantages and benefits to all of this stuff, but autonomy, I've realized, forces me to befriend silence, and it's scary. Silence scares me. I was watching a video where one of my favorite stand-up comedians actually said that he hasn't experienced silence without anxiety in years. He said, I miss getting bored. And it's valid. Boredom is important. I need only look to my childhood to that, because when I was bored, I was forced to find interesting new things to keep myself occupied and entertained. All of that's gone. But hopefully we're bringing it back. I have no doubt that it's going to be super uncomfortable for a little bit in the beginning. Maybe a lot bit. I don't know. But it's a discomfort I'm going to have to get through if I want to get out of this cycle of hating myself because I wasted my whole day on a screen without even realizing it. Like, if I was making the conscious choice to spend my whole day doing one thing that made me miserable, that's a choice. I would take that. That's owning it. But this is against my wishes. Like, I'm not doing this of my own volition. So if that is the case, I need to do something to offset that. Is this what a midlife crisis feels like? Because it's giving intense attempts to overhaul every system of living that has ever existed for the last many, many decades, which is what I assume a midlife crisis is. Oh my god. How crazy is it that my only association with plugging things in like this is like a doctor's stethoscope? Yeah, I can't even express fully how excited I feel. You know what it is? I think it's the exhilaration of agency. My therapist says I have a lot of phrases that need to be trademarked. Honestly, sounds like a self-help book title. I mean it though. Knowing that you have control over your actions and your life and your emotions and just daily living it's rare now, and it's really important, because when you're drowning and you know that you're the person that can save yourself, it's a feeling like no other. Like, that was the whole reason for starting therapeutic things in the first place, and intentionality and meditation and mindfulness. All of those are basically just ways that people are trying to regain a sense of control, which ironically coping mechanisms that turn unhelpful are also ways of gaining control, like numbing yourself, shutting down, feeling anxious, feeling antsy, agitated. All of those things are because we're constantly striving for control. Kind of a healthier approach to that, I feel like, right now. I'll have to see in a bit how this works, but hopefully the trend is upward. So yeah, that's it. Thanks for hanging out. I'm happy I just got to yap a bunch about resting, but not from the typical space of Zen and slowing down. And yeah, I don't know, sometimes rest is not slow at all and it still has to happen. I hope this helped a little bit and that you're able to take off some of the pressure from resting, because I feel like that's the one thing in this world that is supposed to be not pressured, resting. So thanks for watching.